I don't think I live like a very on the edge crazy life. I think I live a very methodical kind of life, and that definitely works for me. But when I look back, the craziest moments, the relatively crazy moments I've had, have almost always been during my gap year. And I think if I look back and if I laugh at something randomly during the day, it's most probably going to be that 1 year I had after I completed high school, just before getting into university. But that being said, it's taking a gap year is a very tough decision for a lot of international students, especially. And I think I just want to explore a few situations and see if that decision is the best fit for you. So I'm just going to run like a few scenarios where you should take a gap year, or you could consider taking a gap year, or you could kind of like move towards taking a gap year. I think a first scenario for taking your gap year is if your first application cycle didn't go really well. I feel like a lot of students, like apply to a bunch of universities when they're in their first year of high school, and you don't really get your dream school or whatnot. And I think it's a good time to like really think about the decisions you took. And if you feel like, okay, if you know for a fact that there are a few schools that might have made a mistake, or if the applications didn't come out well, or if you didn't perform that well during the application cycle because you had to manage high school and things like that, I think it's a great idea to take a gap year and just kind of like take a step back and either get better test scores or improve your application in other ways. I think that's definitely like a cool way to go about your university application. The second is if you don't even know what to do for university. I think choosing a university is an extremely delicate, important decision, and if you don't spend enough time to really understand where you're going, it's probably not a good idea to rush to university. I feel like people who like don't apply in their first year, and this was the case for me, because I went to a school where like applying during the first year, it's like you need to know so much about university, because like the people there, at least at the time I was there, just didn't know what was going on. Like I told them, oh, I'd like to apply to Princeton, and they didn't know what Princeton was, and that's kind of like ecosystem that was there at my school. But anyway, like I had to actually take a gap year to like explore my university options and like really research and know exactly where I was going. I was initially actually planning to, I think I mentioned before, like I was planning to go to Australia during the February intake, but things changed and my priorities changed and my understanding for universities changed, and I did a bunch of research to really understand that that's not where my heart and my mind really fits. And I realized that I had to take a gap year. But I've also realized that a lot of students in my batch actually went right ahead with going to Australia in February because they didn't want to waste time. And I feel like a bunch of people actually made very hasty decisions. I think if you're going to like a country in February, like let's say like a few months after, you just need to be aware of where you're going. There's nothing wrong with the country. It's more of like you just need to be aware of the decision that you take. And I think if you are aware of the decision you take, you just know how to leverage and just make the best out of your university experience. And another scenario where you can take a gap year is when you know for a fact that there is a decent amount of room for improvement with your applications, right? Like in my case, when I started, like I didn't do my SATs during my first year of school. Like I literally didn't apply to university, that's one thing. But like even with my application, even if I wanted to apply, like it's like I didn't do my SATs like in high school because I didn't have enough information, and I had to like really find out much more after I was done with high school. And even with my application, I just felt like there was much more I could do to kind of like make that application, like decorate my application. So I did a bunch of stuff which I will get into later, but like I think your gap year is a very good time to work on a bunch of skills that you might have not worked on before because your school ecosystem wasn't great for your career development. Or even if like even in the case of like when you're at university, you'll be immersed in so many tasks and so many deadlines that you might not have the same headspace to work on skills like you would in a gap year. And I actually wish that I worked on even more skills. I don't have no regrets, but like I feel like I still could have worked on a bunch of stuff. Even coding, like I think I started most of my coding during university. I think I should have spent much more time like just like actually going through things like material at home. All of this is available on the internet, and I think that's what I want to do with content, just to like help people make the best use of their time too. So yeah, it's definitely a good time to like work on your skills with things like internships and acquiring new skills. I'm just gonna run through like a few things I did in my gap year so that you might get some inspiration to do like a bunch of these things. I think the first thing I did was I worked at my high school as an interning teacher. That's one thing I did. Then I moved on to working with my batch at the end to organize our graduation. I also did my SATs, and I applied to about 13 universities, and I had to write a bunch of like essays and stuff like that. And I really improved my writing skill during that time. And then the SATs really helped to like understand your grammar a bit better. I definitely made a bunch of careless grammar mistakes, and I think I still do to a certain extent. But I think the SAT really like, I think the best takeaway for me from the SAT is just like being more conscious of like my sentence structures and stuff like that. I still have a long way to go, but that's cool for sure. The other really cool thing I did was I think open up like a charity-based organization called Heal. I also volunteered with Isuru's, like that's my best friend, like his charity organization too, and I think I volunteered in a bunch of other places. But opening up a Heal and just running a website and speaking to a great batch of students from like my high school, and just leading them and just giving them a chance to like shine as leaders. I think that kind of stuff was really cool for me too. That really expanded my network on a different dimension of thing. I traveled to Vietnam and even spent a lot of time traveling around Sri Lanka. I think that really opened my mind, and I think you always learn something new about the world, and you really feel smaller once you like travel around. And I think that was a very, very wholesome experience. I interned at the first digital bank in Sri Lanka called FreeMe. I was a marketing intern, and that's when I realized that I don't want to do economics and finance and anything management related as a student. That's when it was during that time that I actually realized, okay, I am going to do something related to programming and something related to technical problem solving, because I feel like I'd really do much better in tech. So but that being said, I loved my experience at FreeMe, and I think the people there were super cool and super nice to me and stuff like that. But I think when I started speaking to people, and when I started speaking to the data scientists over there, and the people working in IT, and I'm not doing IT by the way, but anyone who's doing tech, I just had a few conversations with them and just wanted to see what was going on in their head, and think I had a lot of time to think about this stuff, and I realized that I was getting much more curious about stuff like programming and computer science and data structures and stuff like that. And I realized, okay, this is a good time to switch. And I realized that even further when I took my first econ course at university. But I think this was definitely that point where I was like, okay, I want to do something technical and something much more closer to science, if that makes sense. My gap year was this great time where I was just absolutely carefree, and I had to deal with nothing but just my own stuff, my own work, and just strengthening the relationships I had with people, and people that I really wanted to be with. I strengthened the relationships I had with people I associated in high school, or people I couldn't really associate much in high school. And I think one of the bigger turning points of my life was when I joined the Colombo Operated Model United Nations EXCO, the executive committee, that is.
This is Manik, Vice President of UNADC.
Look, even though it goes as vice, I still get to control this.
Okay, so the next person is.
And that was the time where it really burst my bubble, right? I met all these people from a diverse set of backgrounds, and we all got together to do something absolutely great and something absolutely memorable for all of us. And the memories we had and the memories we made and how tight we were and how crazily close we were that was amazing to me. And the people I met through that, two of my best friends now, who I'm closest to, and even a bunch of other friends who I'm really, really close to, came out of their gap year. The example I'm going to take off the top of my head is Isuru and Ashani. We basically go through our university lives every single day together. We talk about all this university related stuff, we talk about internships, we talk about the struggle every single day. It's through Ashani that I met Imran, my mentor, and who's a big brother to me now, and I wouldn't have literally my life in Canada at the rate I've achieved it, if not for him. It's like I have my life because of this gap year, and that's crazy. So at the end of the day, there's this large emotional element to like a gap year that a lot of people don't like speak about. And I know that, you know, a lot of people can be very condescending when they like, you know, go to university. Like, you know, people at Lyceum, my high school, like some people want to really flex that they finish their degrees as soon as they like, I don't know, hit puberty or something. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what the hype is about, because it's like we all run our own clocks, right? Like, even recently, like, you know, there's this like because I took like a semester off to like do my internship, and like I also took a gap year. Like, there's this guy who came and told me, like, oh, I'm gonna graduate next year. Like, when are you graduating? I'm like, I think I'll take like 2.5 years to graduate. He's like, oh, actually, 2 years rather. And you know, this guy just started flexing on me, say, oh, I'm graduating so early, you know, what are you doing with your life? And like, he went down this path, and whenever this kind of conversation comes up, I just remind people that I have 4 internships, and they generally shut up. And you know, the whole point of that unwarranted flex is just to let you know that if the reason why you're worried about taking a gap year is, you know, is the fact that people are gonna feel like you're wasting your life, just know that a lot of people who might be condescending about, you know, you taking time to figure yourself out are probably not as great as you, and you're probably better than them. And the reason why I'm saying that is because anyone who's achieved any form of success in their life, these people know that there is no timeline for success. And if you take a bit of time off and like, you know, work on something or like figure out a skill, or you know that if you are aware that there is no rush to attain a specific goal and that you want to enjoy the process in a different style, I think that's totally fine. So run your clock always. There's no rush to like succeed, there's no rush to do anything, but obviously make the right decision for yourself and be honest to yourself when you decide whether you want to take a gap year or not. I hope that message resonates well, and I hope everyone is just going to have a good time through university and before university. Yeah, thank you.